Have you ever watched a professional pruner at work and wondered what's going through their head before they even make that first cut? Well, I can tell you, it's a whole lot more than just, where should I snip? We're about to dive into the mental checklist that really separates a casual trim from expert plant care.
So let's just start with this question right here. Is pruning just another item on the garden to-do list, kind of like weeding or watering? Or is it something way more precise, way more critical? Honestly, I think of it as plant surgery. Every single cut, every decision has a massive consequence.
And this visual really shows you just how high the stakes are. Look at the left. A proper cut actually works with the plant's own biology. It helps it create a clean seal which protects it. But then you look at the right. An incorrect cut does the complete opposite. It creates this gaping wound. Basically an open door for disease and decay that can weaken and, eventually kill the whole plant. The only difference between the two? Knowledge. So that brings us to the first big rule of the pros. The most important work actually happens before you even think about picking up a tool. You can call it reconnaissance or recon. It's all about gathering your intel before you act.
Now this one might actually surprise you. The very first question a real professional asks has nothing to do with the plant's health. It's about the law. Before they touch a single branch, they have to know, am I even allowed to cut this?
That's because, in a lot of places, there are tree preservation orders. If you prune, or even worse, remove or protect a tree without getting approval first, you could be looking at massive fines. Professionals also have to stick to specific national standards, like the Australian standard you see here. Ignoring this stuff isn't just sloppy work, it's a huge legal and financial gamble.
Okay, so once you've cleared the legal hurdles, the next mission-critical question is identify your patient. I mean, you'd never perform surgery without knowing who's on the table, right? It's the exact same idea here. And here's why knowing the species is absolutely crucial. Different plants play by totally different rules. Think about a big leaf hydrangea. You know, those big, gorgeous blue puffballs? They form their flower buds on last year's wood. So if you go in to neaten it up in the spring, you've just canceled the entire summer flower show. Poof, gone. Some plants will bleed sap like crazy if you prune them in the wrong season, and for others, cutting into old wood is basically a death sentence. A pro knows that when in doubt, you hit the books.
All right, so you know the local rules, you know what species you're dealing with, now you've got to understand the biology. This is the moment the pruner really becomes a plant surgeon, someone who works with the plant's natural defense systems, not against them.
Now this is a fascinating concept. The term is CODIT. It sounds super technical, I know, but the idea behind it is brilliant. When a tree gets wounded, it doesn't heal the way we do. Instead, it builds these amazing fortress walls around the injury to block decay from spreading. A professional pruner's entire goal is to make cuts that help the tree build those walls as quickly and effectively as possible.
And that science, CODIT, leads us directly to these 3 golden rules of the perfect cut. First, you have to find 2 key parts of the branch: the bark ridge, which is that little line on top, and the swollen collar at the base. Your cut has to be just outside of both of those areas without damaging them. And it absolutely has to be a clean, smooth cut. Getting that placement exactly right gives the tree the best shot at walling off that wound and sealing it tight.
Listen, as the source material puts it, understanding this science isn't just some nice-to-know theory. It quite literally determines whether every cut you make promotes or harms the long-term health of the plant. There's really no middle ground. You're either helping or you're hurting.
Okay, so now that we've got the why behind making a good cut, we can start to explore the how. A pro has a whole toolkit of different techniques, and you know what? Choosing the right one is absolutely essential for getting the job done right.
This table just gives you a little peek into that pro toolkit. Let's take espalier, for example. That's the art of training a tree to grow flat against a wall, almost like a living sculpture. It looks breathtaking with fruit trees, but man, it is a multi-year commitment of tiny, precise, gentle cuts. If you get the timing or the technique wrong, you don't get a masterpiece, you just get a stressed-out, unproductive mess. Every single one of these methods has a very specific purpose, and a serious warning that goes along with it.
And that right there is the key takeaway. Using the wrong technique isn't just an aesthetic mistake that looks a little bit ugly. For the plant, it can be absolutely fatal. Matching the method to the plant and the goal, well, it's a non-negotiable part of the job.
Which brings us to our final and, you could argue it's the most important principle. After all that assessment, all that skilled cutting, the pro's job still isn't done. They have to make sure they leave the plant and the entire garden healthier than when they arrived. It's kind of like the pruner's version of the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm.
Just think about this for a second. A professional pruner might work on dozens of plants in a single day, sometimes across totally different properties. If their tools pick up some kind of fungal or bacterial disease from just one plant, that one infected tool can act like a dirty needle, spreading that disease to every single other plant they touch that day.
That's exactly why this protocol is so critical. And we're not talking about just a quick wipe of the blade here. It's a disciplined process, cleaning off all the dirt and debris, properly sterilizing the tools between every single plant, and then managing the waste, the branches you cut off, to make sure you're not just leaving a pile of pathogens behind.
When you get right down to it, it's this simple. A pruner gets hired to add value, to improve the health and beauty of a garden. But by neglecting hygiene, they can do the complete opposite and cause widespread harm. That discipline, proper sanitation, is often the invisible line that separates those two outcomes.
So, after walking through the mind of a professional, the next time you're standing in front of a branch with your pruners in hand, what's your first question going to be? Is it about the law, the species, the science behind the cut? Because as we've just seen, that one moment of thought, that pause before you cut, that makes all the difference in the world.